Hey guys, this is Johnny, and in this video I'm going to show you how I created a weapon switching system for the third person hack and slash project. Previously I only created a sword which had 4 different attacks. For the weapon switching system I created another weapon which is a two-handed hammer and made some attack animations. Before I start, I want to address a bug that my previous video had. If you go to the crouch or prone stance and go under an obstacle, then press attack, the character goes inside the obstacle. This is because in the player script, if the primary fire is pressed, the stance is immediately set to upright. To fix the bug, I'm going to simply create a function called canAttack and it will return false if the upright stance is blocked. Then I'm going to add an if block here, so if the upright stance is blocked, we cannot attack. So now if I press attack when under an obstacle, the character does not attack. And we can attack when the upright stance is not blocked. I've imported and replaced the character model with the new animations and also added the hammer model in the project. I've duplicated the bone attachment 3D node which I used for the sword and replaced the sword with the hammer. In a real project, you might want to dynamically load your weapon objects, so for that you would need to save these as individual scenes and instantiate them at the runtime. But for now, I want to keep things simple. I also added the values for the active skills of this weapon. I've created a weapon script which I attached to the bone attachment 3D node. The equip duration will determine the duration of equipping this weapon. And these are the references to its relevant skills container and visual node to toggle when we are switching weapons. It also contains a dictionary of the names of animations that need to be played on each stance. For now, I'm only gonna add upright stance animations for simplicity. The key should be string and the value should be an array of string names which we can directly assign on the animation name values of the blend space 1D. The names of the stances and animations have to match exactly like what's in the animation tree so that we can replace the animations of each stance with the relevant weapons. In the input map, I created a holster action which is Q in the keyboard and weapon 1 and weapon 2 actions which are 1 and 2 in the keyboard. I created a script named weapon switcher and added a new node here and attached the script. The weapon switcher contains a dictionary of the weapons here. I also added a node here with the weapon script attached and I'll name it no weapon, which contains the animations for the upright stance without weapons. The weapons dictionary contains this node for the holster key and sword and hammer for the weapon 1 and weapon 2 keys. I created this switch weapon function that takes the name of the weapon and equips it. In the input function, I call this function with each weapon switch action. I'm repeating myself here because I don't plan on making too many buttons for weapons, so this can be kept simple. I created a timer here to handle the equip delay, and in the switch weapon function I'm starting the timer with the value of the equip duration of the weapon. The get current weapon simply returns the currently equipped weapon. Here I'm storing the previous weapon's reference, setting the current weapon name as the newly switched weapon, and again storing the reference to the newly switched weapon here. The current weapon name is set to holster by default as I intend to have no weapons at the start when I play. I'm sending them both to this function which switches the visuals of the weapons. I added a delay with a sentry timer in this line and gave the duration of half of the equip duration and toggle the visibilities of both weapons. This way the visual is switched on halfway along the switching animation. Here I'm checking if the current weapon is also the next weapon, and if it is, I'll set the name as holster so that pressing the equip button of the same weapon twice unequips that weapon. If you don't want that feature, you can simply return from here so that the function doesn't run for the same weapon twice. I'm also adding a guard clause here in the input function using the canSwitchWeapon function. It returns false if we are already switching a weapon, which means the weapon switch timer is still running. This way we cannot switch weapons while already switching a weapon, and we're also checking if the current weapon is ready so that we cannot switch while attacking. Also in the player script, I need to add 2 additional logics in the canAttack function. This one prevents firing the attack when we have no weapons equipped, and this one means we cannot attack while switching a weapon. At the end of the switch weapon function, I'm emitting this signal here. The switched weapon signal is connected with the animation controller's onSwitchedWeapon function. Here I'm storing the name of the current weapon so that I can simply return if the function is called for the same weapon multiple times. I've added a one-shot node in the animation tree to show the weapon switching animation, and I'm firing the one-shot node here. Here I'm iterating through the stance animation keys, and I'm setting each one of the animations I retrieved from the array of string names in the stance animations dictionary. I found that if I change the animations without this line, the animations don't interpolate, but rather they snap from one another. So now, if the switched weapon signal is emitted, the one-shot equip animation is called, and in the background the stance animation values for the new weapon is applied. The switched weapon signal is also connected with the active skill controller's onSwitchedWeapon function. Previously, the active skill controller was connected with the skills container script from the sword weapon in the ready function. But now I'm going to remove these lines, and here I'm going to dynamically connect with the skills container script of each weapon. I'm also checking if the previous skills container is connected here so that I can safely disconnect. In the skills container script, I've also removed this line here and created this function which dynamically sets the animation tree and the attack transition node. So now if I switch weapons, each weapon can use its own active skills and animations.